Hi guys. Audio will be better this week. I have plugged in my microphone, which I forgot to do last time, so it was probably down a bit in the level. I was on a forum and someone said they were enraged that they got the feedback or they got a question from a producer that said, why do we need to make this movie now? And he said, that's a stupid question. My story is timeless. That's the most ridiculous question ever. There's heaps of timeless stories. And he was doing all the reasoning. He was arguing with himself. If he had have thought about what that question really meant, and you'll be asked this question, if you wanted to think about what that question really meant and what the producer was asking him, he would be in a much better place to answer that question. What the producer is saying to him is, make me feel better about spending money. Why do I need to spend that money now? He may love your story. He may think it's the best story ever written. But why now? Am I better off making a film which needs to be made right now? Is there a really hot topic today that needs me to invest my money to get the return to have that film made right now? And that's going to get that, and that story will go away, and I can't make that movie in 2 years' time, but I can make yours in 2 years' time because yours is timeless. You've just told me that. So how can we install a sense of urgency? In the sales and marketing world, it's called a call to action. There's an old thing called AIDA, which is AIDA, and it's attraction. So you do something that gets people's, get their attention. Sorry, not attraction, you get their attention. Then you develop their interest, then you make them desire, and then you give them a call to action. This producer was asking for an action. Why do I need to spend that money now? So you have to formulate your answer in those terms, the why now. So what audience does your film have? Why would that audience go away? What drives the urgency for that audience to see your film now? Is this audience moving towards this channel? Like we're seeing more people in this demographic or this region coming onto streaming services, you're pitching to a streamer and you're saying this is a compelling reason for them to come to your channel for these reasons. That's why now. It may be a case of politically, you need to make it now because the views of the world are changing and we need to strike where the iron's hot while people are thinking in the same way as us, you and me, the producer and the filmmaker, that we're thinking in the same way together, that we need to get in sync with the audience. That's why now. Why now is because money's never going to be cheaper than before. We need to get hold of this location. We need to get hold of this actor. We know this actor is available. We know there's a certain demographic. We know that there's only like people, places, story elements. So we know these people are available right now. We can get this actor right now. We can get this cast, this producer, this director. We can get this sound guy we need right now, but we have to move now. The story is contemporaneous to now. There is a lot of heat coming up in the future, so we need to have that lead time to make this period piece because we've heard that so-and-so has just sold the rights to a massive period film. So that's going to take 5 years to make. If we can get in, we can get on the early uprise of this popularity because we're getting now credibility from our peers. Then that's how a lot of things are decided. What else are people looking at? What makes that popular is also consensus. Harry Potter came out, made a lot of money. Suddenly there was all those, young hero magic films, or people that could channel something, or whatever it happened to be. But there seemed to be a lot of those. The Twilight's coming from that, sparkly vampires. They weren't bad vampires, but it was that magical, mystical world set in the young youth area, in the young adult, as they call it. So the young adult stuff really took off because Harry Potter was big. So when you see the first Harry Potter going well, you might start sort of saying, I've got all this young adult stuff. There's 7 books in that. That's why we have to do it now. We can't wait for 8-9 years when the heat's got out of that. We need to get on the train with the Harry Potter train and keep that momentum going and feed off that momentum. That's why now. So you've got to put that argument, or you've got to put your argument forward in things that will Make it contemporaneous. Make the reason why now a real answer. Answer that question. Don't say, oh, you're pointless. This guy was so angry with the producer that he couldn't see that a timeless story can be made at any time. And that's your weakness. If it can be made at any time, it doesn't need to be made now. You have to put it in terms of right now. The second thing we can look at today, two questions I want to or two topics I want to get around. Someone asked, what is subtext? And how do you write subtext? Well, subtext isn't written. Subtext is the message which is happening in the story. If you've got, a person struggling with a jar and another person comes in and they can't open the jar either, and a third person comes in, big muscle-bound guy or woman or whatever, says, give it to me, gets the jar, pops it open, hands it back, looks at the person that was struggling and wants to put them down. They're not going to say, look how weak they are. They might say, do you have any other jars you want to open before I go, just in case, So you're implying this person here is going to be no good to you. They're not going to be able to open jars. So it's a way of putting them down. That's the subtext, the meaning underneath that statement. And that's what subtext is. It's not so much a text, could do with a shave. It is the meaning underneath the words. Like when people say, well, it's really good if you like that sort of thing, which means it's actually garbage and you wouldn't have much taste if you like that sort of thing. So they're implying that to like it isn't really a sign of good taste or a sign of what they believe to be the right sort of person, because that's good if you like that sort of thing. That's what your subtext is. So the way you build subtext into a story is that you need to put an action that the outcome isn't directly related to what's being said or being done. It's the impact that it has. The impact is the subtext. I've seen this story about half a dozen times. It must have happened once in every writer's room in the 70s. Thought it was a great idea, where there was this actress used to get a bunch of flowers sent by the sponsor of the TV show every day. And she was putting her foot down with the director. She refused to film this scene. And she goes, I'll just go talk to the sponsor. And he says, you're sacked. She goes, oh, I'll ring the sponsor. They said, they're the ones that said to sack you. She goes, they love me. They send me flowers every day. And then you find out that it was the guy that was delivering the flowers. The orders had stopped coming years ago. He kept dropping off flowers because he was in love with her. I saw that storyline in probably 4 or 5 different love boats or whatever it happened to be, those daytime shows and those early evening shows. That is the subtext. The subtext there is he was dropping off the flowers because he loved her. He appreciated her. The world didn't. But that was the subtext. Not that, he kept making a sale or whatever, or that he wanted to be around a movie star. It's just that he loved her and he appreciated her and he wanted to have her to keep getting the flowers. That's a little bit more in your face, so to speak. But, a sign of kindness can be subtextual for love. You could have someone do something that isn't going to even benefit themselves, but the subtext is they just really wanted to hurt the other person. The subtext is based on the outcome, not the actual action. It is what effect will be made by what I say. And that is the subtextual context of the story. A third thing to discuss, somebody said, is it really important that my script has way too many pages for what's considered normal? A lot of features, or the features I write, I tend to be very compact in the way I write. I've said that before, lots of little short sentences. So my stuff tends to be a little bit compact, but for time it plays normal. I'm a 95 page to 105 page sort of feature writer. I've sold, the hostage when that was sold was at 86 pages. I'm far more compact. And he had like 160 page. And he did all those what if questions, like, please don't tell me I'm wrong. He was like, but what if it's a really good story? 160 pages shouldn't matter. And I used a metaphor for him. I said, okay, if you're in a restaurant and they give you a meal and it's the best risotto you've ever had, and you're halfway through and you're full and you can't fit another mouthful in, but you've still got half a plate of this best risotto ever. Was there too much risotto? Are you not better off sitting down to a great meal and you sit back and you go, that was so good, I wish I had some more? And then the cook says to you, like, the person you love who's cooked this lovely meal for you, turns around and says, I've got a little more, would you like seconds? Of course, and that's a magnificent surprise. That's something to have. You're not slogging because too much of even a good thing is bad. So this person needs to get his 160-page screenplay down to 120 pages is still starting to become a bit of a big meal. You know, if he could get it down to 100 pages, which might mean taking out an entire storyline, or maybe he is a little bit verbose with his descriptions. Maybe he needs to tighten his descriptions up, get shorter, sharper sentences, like me. Not like me. But he might just look at it. He needs to get it in the hands of an editor. He needs to read it out. That's a really good tip for yourself at home as well. If you can't see what's wrong with your screenplay, and you're going to feel like an idiot, but just read it out. I'm just looking up here on my desk. Sorry about that. I have this. It's a Zoom H4n. Right? Cheapest chips. Really good quality recording. Records for hours on a single SD card. Good stereo microphones. Battery compact. You can use your phone, but your phone's memory might not be what you want to use. Get something like this Zoom. Stick it on your desk. Put it on a stand. Turn it on. Record for ages, and then listen back. And you'll go, it's getting really boring here. That's a long part. Oh, that description, that said the same thing 4 times, because you can say the same thing 4 times, you don't realize it. You've approached it slightly different each time, but you can say the same thing 4 times. And then you go, I don't need to do that. I can take that away. I can cut this down. I can cut this down. And the thing about screenplay formatting is it doesn't take much modification in the early pages to drag lots of pages up. It's just the mechanism of the format. So start taking things out, and what you'll find out, or what you'll result, is you'll have a really good meal. You'll have a screenplay which will leave people wanting more when they get to the end of it. But too many pages will leave people feeling bloated, and you don't want that. I always sort of give scriptrevolution.com a plug. That's where I host my specs. That's where I've sold a lot of my scripts through. It's a very, very good place. It is a great site, great people, good forum. There's forums all over the place, but they have a really good forum because it isn't aspiring writers as such. It is people that have got scripts on that place. They've finished screenplays. They know what it's about, and they're discussing slightly more heavy-duty writing topics. Really good place to go. So you've got scriptrevolution.com. It is a free service, but I would encourage you to be a bit of a Patreon and throw them some money. It's not very much. I think if you want to be a rock star, you can spend $50 for the entire year, and the next year you don't have to renew. Or you can just give them $5 or $6 a month, and they'll host all your scripts for you. The really good thing about hosting a script there is that you have a poster, a bio, you send that link to somebody, they can see it. It's not just a link to a Google Doc. It's far more advertising-like. It's a very, very good site. If you want to ask a question, longer questions, go to griffithscreative.com.au. There'll be a link in the notes below. If you've got a comment, please comment on this. Ask questions in these comments. Like, what would you like to see? How do you make scripts shorter? Tell people how you make scripts shorter here. How have you written subtext into something? Mention it below. How would you make sure that a person understands that your script has to be made now? Tell the people below. Let's start using these comments as a way of helping each other. That would be really good. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's worthwhile. Otherwise, until next time, keep writing.